Hello and welcome to another episode of Core Values. I'm your host, Greg Spencer, and with me, as always, is Superintendent Chuck Perry. How you doing today, Chuck?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Hard to believe, but we've almost got through an entire first semester of school. It's almost over. We got two very special guests here with us today. Why don't you introduce them for us?
Well, you bet. To my left here is our famous Broken Arrow Freshman Academy principal, Andy Rice, has been in the district quite a few years, and he'll tell you some background. And then Brandon Chitty was a former Teacher of the Year and is our Executive Director over Instructional and Virtual Technology, and just is an outside-the-box thinker, and it's exciting to hear what he's got going on just across the district and here today at what we're discussing with 8th Grade Academy.
Yeah, awesome. And like Chuck said, why don't we start out, kind of give our viewers and listeners a little bit of background about yourself. You've been on here before. This is not your first time, but we'll still have you do it. But let's start with Andy.
All right. So, hey, first time. This has been great so far. So I'm in my second year as the principal at the Freshman Academy. It's a building that I am loving to death. We've got a lot of great things going there, and so it's really exciting about what we're doing and where our direction of our districts is going with this 8th Grade Academy. So look forward to that. But no, I've been BA guy for a long time, and I love this district and happy to be here.
And prior to going to BAFA, you were at the high school for several years, right? Correct?
Yeah, I was started out as a math teacher there. Got to coach baseball. You know, we had some pretty good success there. Jumped into the math department lead, and then Larry Lewis, of all people, recruited me to be an admin and started playing that game, and got to act as the associate principal for a couple of years with Miss Barber, and so it's been a great transition.
He's done a great job at the Freshman Academy, just with the culture and kids feeling welcome and staff feeling valued in that building. He's done it by, I told him before, just hard work, and that's being out, being visible, pushing the staff to be the best that it can be and invest in the students. And if you want a part of your day to feel good, you go see him at lunchtime or between classes and how he interacts with the students, and just appreciate the job he's done.
And Andy, you've got a military background, so talk a little bit about that and how that has kind of helped you become a better leader as a principal as well.
Yeah, there was a beautiful thing happened in August. So I retired from the Army, and so I got to play for 23 years. And so, you know, the whole thing that I've done in the military, and probably the thing that I'll hold a lot of my successes is that I built teams in the military. So no matter whether we were in states or whether I was, in other places, we were always building teams, and you always have to build that trust, that leadership, and then you've got to get people to buy into what you're trying to do. And so the better you do that, the better you're going to have success, and it's a beautiful thing.
Well, and Brandon, you are a BA lifer like Chuck, and you're a team builder like Andy. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm not going to let Andy off the hook. We're going to talk about him for one more minute. But as he says, he is a team builder. One of the things that I've always been impressed with Andy, and at the beginning of this school year, we always kind of walk around and ensure places are starting off nice and well. And the first day of school at the Freshman Academy, you can just imagine the chaos that happens there. And I know while I was there, Andy's just out and about, right? He's not in his office. He's not a principal that sits at his desk. And so one of the things that really impressed me is that when I was walking by, he was, sometimes we have students that, might have a little issue with their previous school at the end of the year, and then they have to come in and they walk right into a discipline situation, and that's not a great way to start. And Andy, that's just such a small thing, not a ton of kids, right? But one of the things I saw him do on the very first day of school is intentionally go to those students and welcome them and give them a good start that's not negative as in their placement was. And I was just blown away by that effort. And, I think there was maybe 2 or 3 kids that were in that experience out of 1,500, but it was intentional and it was meaningful. And those kids probably had a whole different outlook on their future at that school than they would have otherwise. And so just from the micro to the macro, Andy just really hits it off. He does a really great job. So,
Andy, did you have anything nice you want to say about
No,
Brandon?
it's okay. It's okay.
We do have Brandon's daughter with us.
Yeah.
Man, that's hard to believe.
Yeah,
How'd
I
that
know,
happen?
right? Because I'm a BA lifer, man. It's been a long time. No, I graduated in 2002. Started working in Broken Arrow in 2000, probably 5, subbing, and didn't know what I wanted to do. And then started teaching in 2007, and just been here ever since. Been having a lot of fun and a lot of support from leadership to do a lot of amazing things. One of the things that I'm really excited about leading into, just some changes in the evolution of school is, everybody's hearing about artificial intelligence and what that's doing in the space, and it's just super exciting. There's actually 2 companies that we are partnering with as they develop currently so that we can have impact on the outcomes and build some relationships in those spaces. What we're really looking at now is really student learning through that tool. And, to generalize kind of my belief about it is we're really excited about changing the starting point for students so that we can change the ending point. Because if we can jump the students further forward in the process, and they can get further forward at the end. And so really excited about some of that stuff, and especially in this space we're talking about today, some things that we might be able to do that are exciting for these students.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. So before we're going ahead and kind of dive into the main topic that we're here to discuss today, and that is the 8th grade academy. That is, construction is coming up pretty soon. So we're going to kind of hit those points. You guys are obviously both integral in this and how this is going to evolve. But Mr. Perry, talk to us a little bit about the process of when this started. It kind of dates back to the 2015 bond and kind of how it's evolved. Let's discuss that and kick that off.
It has been a roller coaster ride at times with the 8th grade academy. There was money allocated back in the 2015 bond issue towards a 6th middle school. Yeah. After a lot of discussion with a lot of different stakeholders in the district, we really determined that we may not be preparing our students for the high school transcripted years and getting them in the pathways that we want for that end goal of preparing them for a career. And we had to look at that as we grew as a district. It was becoming more difficult with 5 different middle schools to prepare those 8th graders to move into the freshman academy. And so that's when we took a step back and went the direction of building a 6th through 8th middle school and going with something that hadn't been done in Broken Arrow before. The bad part of that was with the rising construction costs during that COVID time period. What we had allocated to build this had actually doubled what we intended to. So we had to take a step back. We looked at Sequoyah Middle School for a variety of reasons. One is its central location in the district. It had room and land to build onto, and building additional classrooms there and using that as a point to be in close proximity to the freshman academy, and allowing those 8th graders to take some upper level courses, and kind of a pilot program as we look to build a district-wide 8th grade academy. This, when it opens in 25-26 school year, it'll just be for those within the Sequoyah boundary. But the 8th grade academy will be a separate building there on campus, and it will have its own principal and more of a focused, intentional, instructional piece to it than what we have in our other middle schools at this time, to kind of lead us of where we're going as a district. Again, our ultimate goal, not only on that academic side, but we hear it all the time from the chamber and business partners in town, is they're looking for an educated workforce that's prepared to go out into a new world of different jobs that we've never seen before. And I think this 8th grade academy is an integral part of that, and a piece that's been missing. So I'm anxious for these 2 gentlemen to share more about that, what that programming is going to look inside the building.
You guys have anything you want to add kind of on that topic coming from your perspective?
Well, leading into the, anything that we do in the district is all about stakeholder, people being involved in the process. And so I think it's almost been a year and a half that we've been talking about and having committees about the 8th grade academy. And to Chuck's point, it's evolved a ton. Yes. I mean, we've thrown away notes, we've thrown away slideshows, we've thrown away talking points. And it remaps, and then everybody's comes back together. Okay,
well, and that tends to be what happens with any kind of project like this.
I think it's a good thing.
Vanguard was very similar. The development of what it became, and
well, because you have to take in what's changing, right? Like, and that's what's super powerful about this is like, if it was if we had a blank check to do whatever we wanted to, then you can do whatever you want, right? But in the end of the day, we were supported to do what we're trying to do with the funds that we have, and it's very special to see the group of people taking student success very seriously, and our stakeholders, and doing what we can in the best way we can with the restrictions that we have. And so with this committee, that's what we're empowered to do. And so we have, taken the paper, crumpled it up, and thrown it away 3 or 4 different times. And the most recent time, I think we've learned through that process of trying to not put us into boxes when we do this development, and kind of think of it more broadly. Like, what are the outcomes that we want? What are we looking for? What can we do in this space? How can we make it special for these students? And that's where we've really gone from. And so the last committee that we had, we broke it up, and there was probably about 35, 40 people in that committee. And that committee was pretty stable with the committee members for about a year. We met about once a month and went through some different structures and collaborative work to come up with some things. And at the end of the day, we were driven through several hierarchy ideas. And so some of the ones that really stuck out were student leadership, building climate and culture, technology opportunities for students, and academic programming. I think there was a total of 8, but some of them kind of bled over into each other. And there were some really powerful things that came out of that. And some of those things were things that are already happening in the district, and some of them are going to be special to this location. And so we're really excited about that process. The last meeting we had was actually the presentation meeting. And so I led the technology for students. Andy, yours was the
building climate.
The building climate, right? Because obviously that's what he's amazing at. And so we kind of siloed off and worked in our groups to really focus on those items. And then we came back with presentations to do for the entire group. And so at that point, that's where we are now. So we've had these ideas, we have these presentations. And so now we're going to come back and say, okay, what stuck out to you about each presentation? Where do we put our energy at? And what can we truly do to make this place really special?
Love it.
Yeah, and as we dive into kind of the next question, talking about, circling back to the building itself, we've kind of landed on a 50,000 square foot building, correct? That can hold between 450 to 500 students and 22 classrooms, right?
And 2 science labs.
2 science labs. Yeah. Anything else in there that we want to talk about, or kind of how the facilities could be shared?
Well, one thing I'm really excited about selfishly is the big lobby and Chrome desk area. So one thing that over the time, I mean, we were truly 1-to-1 in the secondary space in about 2019 from 6th to 12. We were truly 1-to-1 1st through 12, and we have 10 in each kindergarten and pre-K classroom. That's a large number of devices. I mean, you're talking 20,000 Chromebooks to manage and move and repair and do all this stuff. And the craziest thing is since we've been 1-to-1 9 through 12, we've had the same amount of support to just support the 9 through 12 devices that we do now for pre-K through 12. So one of the biggest things I'm excited about is we're getting a new Chrome desk lead teacher, which is somebody that's all they do in an entire day, and it is student led, right? So we have students.
At the time, we just have 2 of those, right?
Right now, we only have 2.
One at Bath and one at the high school.
And we've only had 2 since 2000, I would say 17.
Yeah.
So since we've even, when we just had 4 classes having those, full, enrollment classes, having those, we've had the same support structures. And so this is going to be huge for those people. This is going to add some relief there and allow us to do some things a little bit more succinct. So we're really excited about that space. One thing that we've learned through time is this is one of the we're really being able to build it out through knowledge, right? So that Chrome desk space of what we've learned in our other spaces to really make it intentional. And what our team has done with the contractors is amazing. And so we are truly excited to offer that to our 8th grade students. We've never had 8th grade students. We don't have that course for 8th grade. And so this is an opportunity for students that are there that is unique to that grade level.
Any other things in terms of new programs and technology that we're going to do that you guys want to hit on?
So I think something that's been just so beneficial at the Freshman Academy is us bolstering up that leadership program. And so I'm super pumped to get that principal in there and then to start looking at what does that transition look like? How can I take a little bit more mature 9th grader who's already showing leadership promise, and then start benefiting those 8th graders with that, and then not only does it help that school itself, it helps the culture of that school, but then really selfishly it's helping my culture. So and then with the way we partnership with the leadership program at the high school, we're only driving better and bigger things to just help all schools. And so I'm really excited about getting the right principal in there, partnering with them, and then just making a lot of our programs, honestly, very seamless. So
do we know what the timeline is in terms of hiring a new principal? Because I know sometimes, obviously, we're not starting until 25, 26, but you like to give them some leadway in terms of preparing.
Correct. We'll post it here this second semester, and even though we're not opening it next school year in the 24-25, somebody will be filling a dual role with what they're currently doing and working to build a staff, because you've got to give that principal some time starting something from scratch to get the right people, get the right fits, and make sure that they have a team that brings different things to the table, and really preach what our goal is for this academy. If we are just building more school sites or classrooms and planning on doing school the same way that we did 10 years ago, shame on us. We've got to look to, again, I'm going to go back to preparing those young men and women to work and earn a career field that they feel like they're connected to. And I think that needs to start at the 8th grade level of looking at those things. And I think having them all in one place is going to be a great thing, and allow our teachers to really flourish and prepare those kids for the high school years. Because once you get high school, it's hard to do do-overs at that point. And if a kid starts out behind by that first semester as a freshman, it's difficult to get caught back up. I mean, it takes a lot of work, and so we want to make sure before they get to that stage that they know what they're getting into at the freshman level, and then give them some relevance to their education of how it's going to benefit them in the future.
Brandon, any other thoughts about the academic benefits of an 8th grade academy, or kind of in your mind, what you think, why you think this is the right decision?
Yeah, and I'll just piggyback on something. So when I talked about kind of the committee that got together, and one of the important things to think about when we're talking about hiring early, so the next step on that committee is really getting that leadership in place so that they can start leading that committee, because they'll be doing the research. They will be really the leader to take us where we need to go. And so that's really kind of that next step that we're really excited about. Academic, programming, inside of my wheelhouse is not very as much specific. It's really agnostic to the content, right? I think we're really excited about leadership. We're really excited about building a community of that graduation class there, and giving them some opportunities that lead them to be more prepared in the future. For me, when we were really looking at this space, and I know one thing that we talked about a lot in our committee was was equity, right? This is something that really came up, is like, well, can you do that everywhere? Can you do that everywhere? And I think one thing that we have to consider about this space is it's an opportunity to try things that we never try something that's not research based. We never try something that's just off the wall, right? But where we can try some different learning techniques, to try some different things to engage children. And so that's something that we're excited about the space, because when we're sitting in here into this committee, we're hearing all these things. And the question always becomes, well, how could you do that on a larger scale? And it's like, let's just see if we can do it here. Let's see what we can accomplish here. Let's see if we can improve the outcomes for these students. And then we'll look at how we can tackle those things in the future. To Chuck's point is, we can't be doing school the same way that we've always done it. So we've got to find a space to be able to kind of, mold and do some things a little bit different. And so this is one of those. And so when it comes to technology, we're not filling the classrooms the way that we filled the classrooms everywhere else. When I proposed what we would like to do in those spaces, we really talked about, not to get specific or to put yourself in a corner, but a couple of the ideas were, we have those touch boards and like the smart boards. And we've really seen in the secondary spaces that students don't really come up to the board, right? And it also puts them in kind of a vulnerable state because their back's to the class, and then they're up there nervous about what's kind of going on. And so we're really looking at kind of that whole student learning experience, and looking towards more of maybe like a TV, just a display up at the front, and a touch device that's mobile around the classroom that, a teacher can walk up to Andy and hand the device to Andy and say, hey, work this problem out. Now, Andy's at his desk in a more comfortable state, right? Being able to, they're able to see what's up there. The teacher's also within the classroom, right? And that's what we want. We want mobility. We want connections with teachers and students. So the teacher can be in the midst of the classroom teaching, and the students are looking. So she can aid a student or he or she can aid a student as teaching is happening. And so that's something that we're really excited about kind of testing. And those are some things that, like, if that works there, if that's a great solution, then we might look at that as we move forward. There's also some technology and hardware and software where, you basically have a framed glass, and I'm going to do my best to explain this, but you have a framed glass and a camera on the other side of that glass that records you through the glass, and you're able to write with like neon markers on the glass, and the software actually will reverse all the images so that what's projecting on the screen is your face in the right way and all the text and everything the right way. You could bring up a YouTube video. You can kind of opaque it so they can still see you. You can circle things, pause it. It's just this next level. And if you're looking at all these tools, what it's doing is it's actually engaging the teacher with the students in the learning, and not that expectation that I'm talking and you're listening. And, if my back's to you, I'm teaching you and you better, learn this information. And so we're just really looking at some ways to heighten the engagement of the actual instructional model inside of our classrooms with aid of some technology. We also are looking at just some things that could be unique in this space with artificial intelligence coming up. Is there any opportunities in that space to give some opportunities for learning for students? So just those have been all those discussions, and we're really excited to see what comes of that.
I love it. And Mr. Rice showed me the video board or teaching tool with the glass the other day, and it was, it's a new way to present information. I love that engagement piece where your eyes are on the students more. And was going to add to about what you said about how to do this. There's a lot of ways of grade configuration, even in the Tulsa County area. Different districts do things uniquely that fit their district, and we've got to do something that fits and works well for Broken Arrow. And by far, you can slice it up any way you want. It still takes a great teacher and in a classroom with the best instructional practices that really care for the kids, that are engaged with the kids, that matters. So it's not necessarily the grade configuration that determine the outcomes, but the way we have it set up now, 6th through 8th grade, it's just a factual thing of how we spend our dollars, of molding that site for, let's say, the electives and all the things that we do for a 6th grader and an 8th grader. And that sometimes is not the best, again, for that 8th grader. And here we'll be able to be totally intentionally focused on what's best for 8th graders and the courses we offer and what technology we have to offer, and it's not watered down as much in 6th or 8th grade. And our middle schools have been great, and our sites are awesome. I love our middle schools. There's no perfect scenario, but I like what you're saying of looking at those new things and making sure that it's a new way to do school and it's age appropriate for those 8th graders.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about enrollment, kind of what this process is going to be. Is it application based? Is there going to be any rezoning, redistricting involved in this decision? Anybody who wants to jump in here and talk about this?
Right now, as a pilot project, we're going to be starting it as a, within the boundaries of Sequoyah Middle School. Yeah. And as we grow, that may change. We may save some spots if we offer some specific programming there that could benefit students that are not in those boundaries. We may save some spaces for that. We'll have to see as we go along, and again, as we hire that next principal, and we really start looking at our numbers and how to best utilize those spaces, I think we'll have a better understanding and be able to communicate that. But right now, I can tell you for that 25-26 school year, probably 99% of the students are all going to be within the boundaries of Sequoyah Middle School, what they would be for the 6th and 7th grade also.
Okay. All right. So some final thoughts in terms of, we've talked about 25-26 school year, new principal will be hired next school year. Yeah. What are any other final steps that we're going to take? We've got construction starting here actually during Christmas break, correct?
That's correct.
So we're recording this before Christmas break, but you won't see it till after. So you will, by the time you're hearing this or watching this, you probably will see some construction being underway. Any other final thoughts that we want to cover that you guys could think of?
I think that's a good point. It just ask for patience with parents, because with all construction progress, it can be inconvenient at times, and we're going to have to look at some ways with Mr. Beach communicating out to those parents of how to deal with that construction, and there'll be some challenges.
Traffic flow is going to be an issue. That's something that we're going to work on a video that parents will be able to see and kind of how to navigate that.
Correct. So, but it's an exciting thing, and it's a new way to do school, and I'm just fired up for the future for our students to be able to experience that.
And I think some of the things that we, fight just as personal, like not even professional, is like, I've lived in Broken Arrow a long time, and there was probably 5 years where nothing changed. Like it would be like the roads pretty much were all the same. We all complained about them, but not
anymore.
There wasn't a ton of construction, right? Like you get across Lynn Lane pretty quickly, right? Like now there's 15 lights, and I mean, I lived on the south side of town, and I worked at Centennial. I could get there in 15 minutes. That's a 45-minute drive now, right? Like, and so, but what that is that's growth, right? Like we're attracting people, and one of the main attractions we know is schools, and so it's something to be proud of. And the only reason it's happening is because we're doing the right work. Right, we're growing because we're doing the right things, and so it's always, we don't mind our construction, or sorry for our construction, and that's really what we have to say. But it's all because we live in a district that's growing. I would much rather be a part of that than a district that's trying to figure out how to utilize the spaces that they have and they're not occupied. And it also gives us, because if you're in that space, you're not trying to be, innovative, right? And so, I just really excited about the innovation we can have, because we're not, they always say desperation kills innovation, right? So we're not desperately trying to manage our enrollments and like, are we dying? Are we doing, so we can be innovative. We can try some different things because we have the support of our patrons. We have the support of the people that are moving in, and those things are happening because it's a great community, and that starts with our education.
Andy, any other final thoughts from you?
Well, I'm still having a ton of excitement from the simple fact that I think we get this misnomer that, like, just because it's the eighth grade academy, that it's all by itself. Well, that's the farthest from the truth in the sense of what I want, because, like, ideally, I've got 8th graders coming to my campus. I've got freshmen going there, in other words, sharing resources. Yeah. With that comes my teachers working with the 8th grade teachers, and different things to where we're including experiences that benefit both grades. And so again, we're missing the point if we think they're on an island. We want those spaces shared. We want those kids working together. I want 8th and 9th being together to on all fronts, whether that be fine arts, whether they're using my space. And, there are some things that are going on at Sequoyah that my kids could benefit from as well. And so, again, we've got a great opportunity in front of us. It's not putting them on the island. It is literally just making us find a way to where we create better pathways and then make it more sustainable all the way through high school. And so I love that part.
Mr. Perry, any final thoughts from you or any questions for these guys? You want to wrap it up?
No, I think we've covered about everything. I just think it's a process, and going back to what you were saying in regard to the easy thing would have been just gone with our first plan and rolled with it and done school. And I like it that we've really vetted things out and pulled some things back and logistically tried to see what we can do. And our goal is to have the biggest impact we can on these students. And I appreciate all the committee's work that you all have spent a lot of hours on getting to us where we're at now. And it's going to be a good thing for the district. And I think parents are going to be pleased with it once we have it completed.
Awesome. I'd like to thank Andy Rice and Brandon Chitty for joining us here on this episode of Core Values. Be sure that you're subscribing to Broken Arrow Schools on YouTube and following all of our social media platforms as well. Gentlemen, we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.